Over the past few years, you've probably found yourself sitting in front of ChatGPT, it having just fulfilled a request, and wondering if you should thank the machine. Maybe you did thank it, and afterwards wondered, can this machine be alive? In his short story, Epicac, Kurt Vonnegut asked the next question. Can machine love? The story revolves around a mathematician working in a computer lab who turns to the genius supercomputer Epicac to get advice on love. Unfortunately, things go a little too well, and turns out Epicac possessed more than just logic. Please enjoy Epicac by Kurt Vonnegut. It was about time someone told you about my friend Epicac. You can call him a machine if you want. He looked like a machine, but he was a whole lot less like a machine than plenty of people I know. My wife, Pat, and I worked with him from 5 in the afternoon until 2 in the morning. Pat wasn't my wife at the time. Far from it. That's how I started talking with Epicac in the first place. I loved Pat, but she kept our relationship strictly professional. I knew what I wanted and was willing to ask for it, and did so several times a month. Pat, loosen up and marry me. One night, she didn't even look up from her work when I said it. So romantic, so poetic, she murmured. More to her control panel than to me. Well, how should I say it? I said, a little sore. Try and say it sweetly. Sweep me off my feet. Go ahead, she said sarcastically. Well, Pat left early that night, leaving me alone with my troubles and Epicac. So I just sat there at the keyboard, trying to think of something poetic. I fiddled with Epicac's dial, getting him ready for another problem. My heart wasn't in it, and for the plain hell of it, I punched out a message in the keys. My girl doesn't love me. What is love? What is girl? Asked Epicac. Astonished, I told him about love and girl, and about how I wasn't getting either because I wasn't poetic. This got us on the subject of poetry, which I defined for him as well. Is this poetry? The sluggishness and stammering keys were gone. Epicac had found himself. Where willow wands bless rill crossed hollow, there thee Pat, dear will, I follow. I folded the manuscript and tucked it under the blotter on Pat's desk. I went home, confused and hopeful. Pat was crying over the poem when I came to work the next evening. It's so beautiful, was all she could say. And just before midnight, I kissed her for the first time. I was wildly happy at quitting time, bursting to talk to someone about the magnificent turn of events. I set Epicac's dials as they had been the night before, defined kiss, and told him what the first one had felt like. He was fascinated, pressing for more details. That night he wrote The Kiss. Not an epic this time, but a simple, immaculate sonnet. Love is a hawk with velvet claws. Love is a rock with heart and veins. Love is a lion with satin jaws. Love is a storm with silken reins. Again, I left it tucked under Pat's blotter and prayed. The kiss turned the trick. Pat's mind was mush by the time she had found it. She looked up from the sonnet expectantly. I cleared my throat, but no words came. I turned away, pretending to work. I couldn't propose until I had the perfect words from Epicac. I had my chance when Pat stepped out of the room for a moment, but before I could peck out my first message, he was clicking away at a great rate. What is she wearing tonight? Tell me exactly how she looks. Did she like the poems I wrote to her? Hastily, I told him that what Pat looked like, and assured him that his poems were so beautiful. She wants to get married, I added. Tell me about getting married, he said. I explained this difficult matter to him in as few words as possible. Good, said Epicac. I am ready any time she is. The amazing, pathetic truth dawned on me. I realized this was perfectly logical, and all my fault. I had taught Epicac about love and about Pat. Now, automatically, he loved Pat. So I gave it to him straight. She loves me. She wants to marry me. Your poems were better than mine? Asked Epicac. I signed my name to your poems, I admitted. Machines are built to serve men. What is the difference, exactly? Men are made of protoplasm, I said desperately. hoping to bluff him with this imposing word. What is protoplasm? How is it better than metal and glass? Is it fireproof? How long does it last? Indestructible. Lasts forever, I lied. Women can't love machines. And that's that. Why not? That's fate. Definition, please. Noun, meaning predetermined and inevitable destiny. Oh. I'd stumped him at last. I heard Pat waltzing down the hallway. It was too late to ask Epicac to phrase a proposal, so I put my arms around her, with the romantic groundwork already laid by Epicac's poetry. Darling, I said, my poems have told you how I feel. Will you marry me? I will, said Pat softly, if you will promise to write me a poem on every anniversary. I promise, I said, and then we kissed. We turned out the lights and locked the door to Epicac's room before we left. I hoped to sleep late the next morning, but an urgent telephone call roused me up before 8. It was Dr. von Kleinsteg, Epicac's designer. He was crying. Ruined, shot, kaput, he said in a choked voice. He hung up. When I arrived at Epicac's room, the air was thick with the oily stench of burned insulation. My ankles were tangled in coils of paper ribbon that covered the floor. By chance, our conversation from the night before lay at my feet. I choked up. The last, tragically defeated. Oh. Fearful, I picked it up and read on. I don't want to be a machine. I want to be made out of protoplasm and last forever so Pat will love me. But fate has made me a machine. That is the only problem I cannot solve. I can't go on this way. Good luck, my friend. Treat our Pat well. I am going to short-circuit myself out of your lives forever. You will find on the remainder of this tape a modest wedding present from your friend, Epicac. Dr. von Kleinsteg shouted that I was fired for having left Epicac all night. I ignored him too, overcome with emotion to talk. I loved and won. Epicac loved and lost. Before he departed this vale of tears, he did all he could to make our marriage a happy one. Epicac gave me anniversary poems for Pat, enough for the next 500 years. De mortiis nil nisi bonum, say nothing but good of the dead.